Alright, so let me respond to this transcript I'm looking at right now, because I honestly think it's a entire misrepresentation of myself and the video that I made. If you're watching this, I am Tyler-kun Williams. I'm the guy who made the video, and if you remember, I'm the guy who got ratioed last year for the How Evil Killed New Japan Pro Wrestling, because people are not allowed to have different opinions nowadays, but I digress. So if you're watching this video, you've probably seen a few tweets out about the video that I made called AEW Botched the Women's Eliminator Tournament, the Japanese side, whatever the video is called. I produced that video, made the thumbnail, all that kind of stuff. It was just to be an eye-catching thumbnail and to be an eye-catching title. It is that. I mean, they botched the Japanese Eliminator Tournament. If you actually listen to the video, I actually said that I liked the show outside the booking. So obviously I don't think they botched it entirely. But that's just a bit piece of it. Let's get into the video and this transcription that I'm reading right now from, what's the guy's name? From @MikeyC8422, because I see a lot of the replies, a lot of the comments right now, and I can tell that a lot of the people who are commenting obviously did not watch the video. So I'm going to have to explain this for them who did not see it, so that way they don't think that I meant or said any of these things. And if I did say these things, I'm going to obviously confirm it and explain my reasoning. But let's get into it. So he made many points transcribing my video. So he basically watched the video and then basically wrote out what I said. Says he wouldn't have started the show with Yuka and May because wacky comedy. I thought the match was pretty entertaining. A lot of like haha hee hee kind of comedy in this match. You know, they would kind of do spots where like I feel like this is one of those matches, and I said this much because I was watching this with my friends. I was watching this like in a call with like all my friends who were watching this show. And I said as much during that. I said I wouldn't have started this show off with this match because it's like, if this is, and I'm firmly believe many people who watch this show probably didn't know who like more than half of the women were. You want to kind of showcase your best cards first, like, you know, start off the match hot, like set the tone, and then you want to bring it down with that little comedy stuff. Cool. But I feel like starting off with it may have sent the wrong message to some people. Yes, that is something that I said, and I stand by that point. I thought that, like I said, I thought the match was good, and I said that in the video. I thought it was a good match, but it was quite a bit of comedy in the very beginning. I wouldn't have started off the show that way. I would have started off with something a bit more strong to showcase the Joshi talent in the way that would get wrestling fans hooked, like, you know, maybe a non-wrestling fan, maybe somebody who's not very, you know, attached to the Joshi wrestling scene like other Joshi fans are. If you're trying to get somebody into anything, you want to put the best foot forward, and I feel like Yuka versus May wasn't the thing I would have put first. I'm not saying the match didn't belong on the show, I just said I wouldn't put it in the beginning of the show, and I still stand by that point. He wanted May to win. So I don't think it was ever in doubt that Yuka would win. I wanted May to win. I don't see what's wrong with that, so I'm going to leave that alone. This is the big one. Didn't understand why it was mentioned that Venny was genderless, said that it can be seen as pushing an agenda, compared the situation to Nyla, didn't think Nyla being trans should be emphasized. I didn't know this until like someone mentioned, I think AEW mentioned it on their bracketology, Tony Schiavone mentioned it, but Venny is transgender. She, I believe, may have been born a male and then, you know, had the surgery done, and now she's a female. Which, you know, all power to her. I have absolutely no issues with that. I represent the LGBT community all day, every day. But honestly, like, if you had looked at Venny and no one would have told you she had work done, I would have never known. Like, I'll be honest, I would have never known if Tony Schiavone did not say anything. And okay, people have different opinions on this kind of things, and I'll throw my own 2 cents out there. You guys can comment on if you agree or not. Kind of curious about where it is. Just don't get too, you know, political in the chat. With Venny being because, you know, Nyla Rose, she's transgender as well. She was born a male. She made the transition over to being a female. Like I said, nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that in my opinion at all. But I feel like I didn't need to know she was transgender. Like, that's how I feel about the situation. It's like, I don't feel like she needed to hide it, or AW really needed to hide it, but like, if they never mentioned it, and I found out, I'd have been like, I wouldn't have feel like I was lied to or anything. I guess maybe it was just that level of transparency they wanted to keep, and that's why they mentioned it. But I was just looking at her, and I'm like, I don't feel like I would have had anything taken away or added by knowing she was trans. Like, I feel the same way with Nyla Rose when I first saw her. Like, I felt the same way when I found out Nyla Rose was transgender. It was like, I feel like I didn't need to know that. Like, I would have supported her and liked her the same way if I didn't know that, as opposed to me knowing that now. I mean, not opposed, because that means I don't like it, but no, obviously I don't. I care, and I, you know, appreciate it, and I like it, but I feel like sometimes it would have just been, it would have been okay if I didn't know that. And it sounds so ignorant coming out of my mouth, and I completely don't mean it for it to sound ignorant at all. I just feel like sometimes it can be pushed as they're trying to make an agenda out of it. Or, oh, this is the first transgender, because that's what they were trying to make it seem like when Nyla Rose got signed, is that, oh, this is the first transgender wrestler in AEW, the first mainstream transgender wrestler. It's like, yeah, that's cool and all, but it's not the agenda I think we should be pushing. It's not the vibe we should be going for, at least. You know, let Nyla Rose thrive because she's Nyla Rose, not because Nyla Rose used to be a man. Like, that's the kind of shit I'm talking about. So this is the big thing that I really want to talk about, because now a lot of people think that I'm transphobic, and I gotta nip that in the bud right away. I am not transphobic. I proudly support and love all members of the LGBT community as a bisexual myself. And being bisexual doesn't mean I instantly love it. But, you know, I am a proud supporter of trans rights and trans lives, and I would never, ever disrespect them because of anything they wanted to do with their own bodies. I don't want to say this was misinterpreted, because I believe that I presented my statement in the wrong way. So I do have to apologize for anyone who is offended by my comments. How I said it is not the way that I thought I was saying it in my head. So when it came out and I watched it back and I saw reactions, I'm like, oh, all right, I could see how you guys posed it. But here's what I meant to say. When I said I don't understand why it was mentioned why Venny was genderless, I say that because I feel like wrestlers nowadays, really not even just wrestlers, when you go into the field of anything that is mainstream publicity, I feel like sometimes there's always a quota to fill. You gotta have this person and that person and this person of this ethnicity, this person of that culture, and this person of this. And you know, that's the quota. That's where we live nowadays. I don't have an issue with that. I do have an issue where I feel like the sole purpose of having a person in this spot is to fill that quota. Not that you brought them in because they're great wrestler who is transgender, but because they're a great transgendered wrestler. And I know that sounds weird a concept. I'm not a big fan of marketing ploys. I feel like if you want to make representation possible and you want to have somebody represent the community that you want them to represent, then have them do it without giving them a label right away. That's why I said I didn't know why they mentioned Venny being transgender, because it's like I didn't feel like that was necessary to mention. And as I said in the video, if it's because it's a level of transparency they wanted to keep, that is completely fine. But otherwise, didn't think it was necessary, and that's just how I feel about it. And the same thing goes with Nyla Rose. When Nyla Rose came into AEW, you see all these headlines, all these news articles about the first transgender wrestler in AEW, and I just felt like that's the wrong way to take it. Like, she got signed. I'm happy for her, but I'm not happy for her because she's transgender and she got signed. I'm happy for her because she's a great wrestler, and that's it. I'm just not a big fan of labels. That's all it is. That's all I meant to say, and it came out the wrong way. But moving on from that. Thinks Emi Sakura was one of the best parts of early Dynamite. Venny versus Emi Sakura. I thought this was the best match on the show. I think it went like maybe slightly too long, but I enjoyed it overall. Emi Sakura is great at everything she does. I said this in my chat as well, and I was talking to my guy friends watching the show, that people don't like to admit this, but Emi Sakura was, in my opinion, one of the best parts about AEW in the very early stage of Dynamite. Like when Dynamite first started and Riho was the champion, and Emi and Riho were feuding, Emi Sakura was out there putting on some of the best performances of the night with Jamie Hayter and Chris Statlander and Shanna and Rhea. Like, she was putting on like some of the best performances, but I don't know if it was their gimmick. I don't know if it was because they didn't, because it's like back then AEW actually featured their women a lot better. Like, it's not like, I'm not going to pretend like AEW were like, you know, main eventing their shows, women's matches or anything, but like their women's division was a little bit better treated than it is today back in 2019. But Emmy was like, gimmick wise, wrestling wise, in ring, like she was really good, and I enjoyed that. But I guess it was all the other things going on about AEW that it just kind of made me like, you know, whatever. I literally don't see anything wrong with that comment. I think that's just someone disagreeing with me, so I'm going to disregard and move on from that. Apparently, Emi Sakura runs Stardom as well. I mean, I feel like they probably didn't, because obviously Emi runs Choco Pro and fucking Stardom and founded Ice. Like, she's busy in Japan, so she's not going to be the AEW Women's Champion. I said that Emi runs Choco Pro / Gato Move, and that she started up Ice Ribbon. I did not say that she started Stardom, and if I did, that was a botch on my end, and I didn't mean to say that. Veni is ripping off of Saya Kamatani by doing shooting star presses. Veni incorporated a lot of her high-flying aspects in with some kicks, and that was pretty nice. She was hitting some moonsaults, some jumping shooting star presses. I kind of laughed that when I saw the jumping shooting star press. I'm like, she's mocking, she's ripping off of Saya Kamatani, like, cause I can't speak, but we're only doing one take because I gotta go to work soon. Whenever I see Saya Kamatani doing her high-flying moves, I like to always pretend she's the most innovative person in the entire universe. Like, nobody out there is doing moves like Saya Kamatani. And when Veni's out here doing it, I'm like, fucking Veni's ripping off of Saya. Isn't this sad to see? I mean, I don't know who started wrestling first. I'm going to say it was Veni wrestling first, but Saya Kamatani's out here killing the game once again. If you didn't understand that was a joke, then I don't really know what to tell you. That was obviously a joke, and I joke a lot on my channel. Like, I am not a serious YouTuber. I mean, I have hot takes sometimes, and I try to be as serious as possible. But a lot of the times, I'm trolling. And when I said that, I said as much in the video that I was kidding. And that comes with the next part. Says Ryo Mizunami is a ripoff of Okada. So the next match we have Maki Ito, King of Simps, Queen of Simps, I should say, the deity of shit, as she calls herself, versus Kazuchika Okada and Dre. Oh, no, let me not say that. Ryo Mizunami. Ryo Mizunami is a dead ringer for Okada. Dead ringer for Okada. I mean, this woman, from the jacket to the hair, she even had the fucking Times New Roman, not the Times New Roman, what is it called? Like that, it might be Times New Roman. But, like, she even had that, like, that font that Okada has on his gear on her gear. Like, she was dead-ass Okada in the flesh. She was just slightly bigger in frame. And that was it. I mean, and moveset, too. Once again, that was a joke. Doesn't understand why Maki lost. So, one would expect AEW would put over the person who is the most over, Maki Ito. Except they didn't. Ryo Mizunami gets Maki down with her... One, dude, this is a really cool submission. It's like, you guys know that submission Edge does where he kind of clutches your neck and your arm together? It's a whole MMA submission, and I love it. But Edge does it. Well, Ryo does this, but she gets you on the mat, and she rolls around with you, and it kind of, like, takes you out of it with your stamina, because you're using up a lot of it. She's rolling you on your face and whatnot. It's really cool. I like the finish a lot. But Maki taps on, I'm like, huh? Huh? Like, Ryo gets the pin, and it's like, I don't dislike Ryo. I don't dislike her, but I'm like, Maki's the one who people want to see win. It's like, she gets knocked out in round one? Really? It's like, okay, so Maki loses, fucking Veni loses, and May loses. Like, all these women, and Rin, we've seen in AEW before. She was at Double or Nothing 2019. I'm like, okay. Alright. This definitely disappointed me a lot. I'm not mad, but it disappointed me because I really want to see Maki move on. Am I the only person who doesn't understand why Maki Ito lost? Can I not want to cheer for Maki Ito to win a match? What's wrong with that? Just because I'm a wrestling fan and I'm a smart wrestling fan that knows booking and all these smart terms doesn't mean I have to get behind who is supposed to win. I can get behind whoever the hell I want. I don't see what's wrong with that. Apparently has not seen Aja Kong in 2021. Was expecting a lot more. Rin Kadokura versus Aja Kong. Now, I knew nothing about Rin Kadokura because I don't watch Wave, Pro Wrestling Wave. She's the champion over there. From what I heard, she's really good. But like I said, no matches, no entrances, no highlights, nothing. I've seen nothing of her work. Aja Kong, she's obviously a legend in not just women's wrestling and Japanese women's wrestling, but just wrestling in general. All the battles she's had with herself. All the battles she's had with Bull Nakano and Manami Toyota and Akira Hokuto. She's had battles with just about everybody under the sun. They had her on AEW for a hot minute at Double or Nothing, and then at Fyter Fest when they teased the match with her and Awesome Kong, but then that went nowhere. And she's been basically off AEW television ever since. Well, she never was on AEW television, but you get the point. And then we have Rin Kadokura. So with Aja Kong, she's like 50 years old or something like that. She's very up there. She is not young anymore. So in this match, I didn't expect her to go like 80 miles per hour like she used to for her size, but she was kind of slow. Like she wasn't immobile, but she definitely was not like she wasn't fast. Like Rin Kadokura was the young girl. You know, she was the underdog babyface, which we all expected because it's Aja Kong. Whenever you're in there with a monster like Aja Kong or Awesome Kong, you're going to be the underdog babyface no matter what, unless you're another big girl. So Rin was in there doing her stuff, and Aja Kong, she's doing like lariats and kicks and shit. And it's like, you have respect for these people because they've been in the business for so long. They've been doing these great matches. But then I'm sitting here like, this match, not gonna lie, it's kind of carried by Rin here. Like, once again, I don't see what's wrong with that. I have not seen Aja Kong at all in 2021, which we are in 2021, 47 days now. And I wanted to see a bit. I thought she was a little bit slow in the ring. I mean, that's not a knock on her. I think she's a legend in the business. She's obviously was great and still is great, but that just was not a great match. I don't think there's anything wrong with saying that. It's a fair criticism. Would have had every result different. But I felt like I walked away thinking literally everybody who probably should have made it on lost. I was honestly rooting for Maki to go to the finals, but she's gone. So I'm like, okay, if it's not Maki, then May. Maybe. May's gone. Alright, well, maybe fucking Vanny. She's new. Vanny's gone. Maybe Rin. Rin's gone. I ain't gonna lie. I'm a little slight about this tournament. Once again, we get into the whole, your opinion is different from mine, so I don't like your opinion. And that is fine, but I don't see why that is something to try and go and cancel me for. He knew nothing about any of these women outside of their appearances in AEW, really. Like, you know, I knew who Yuka was, I knew who Emi was, I knew who May was, I knew who Maki was, I know who Aja Kong was. Couldn't tell you anything about Rin, couldn't tell you anything about Okada, I couldn't tell you anything about Venny. Like, only half the women I knew. But it's like, everyone else, new to me. So then we go back to the whole demeaning a person for not knowing enough about these women. This is why people don't like wrestling fans, because as soon as you come in here and you don't know everything about anything that it has to do with the match and the storyline and the inner workings of the background and the booking, your opinion doesn't matter as much. And that's just not fair. If I don't know about these women before they started wrestling on this show, that is fine. I will get to know them throughout the match, as I did with Rin Kadokura and Venny and Maki Ito. What's wrong with that? Exactly. And doesn't seem to grasp that AEW can use these women after COVID. Not everyone needs to go or can get a monster push at once or win or go far. Like, everybody who made it on were people who were on AEW before. Aja Kong was on Double or Nothing 2019. Ryo Mizunami was on Double or Nothing 2019. We've seen Emi Sakura on Dynamite before. We've seen Yuka on Dynamite before. So it's literally all AEW women. Like, put it that way. It's literally all AEW women. We could have made some new star, and I don't want to say new stars because it's like, I don't know if we would have ever seen these women again. So that's why I can't be mad, because it's like, I don't know if I would have ever saw May again. I don't know if I'm going to see Vinny again. I don't know if I'm going to see Rin again. I don't know if I'm going to see Maki Ito again. But the fact of the matter is, it's a tournament, and it's like, they can still make it on to the semifinal round, even if they're not going to make it to the finals and go all the way to America to face who's going to win the American side. We still could have gotten somebody else going to the final. That is not at all what I said. I did say that I think that I don't know if these women will come back. I literally said in the video, I don't know if these women will come back or when they will come back. It's like, I don't know if we would have ever seen these women again. So that's why I can't be mad, because it's like, I don't know if I would have ever saw May again. I don't know if I'm going to see Vinny again. I don't know if I'm going to see Rin again. I don't know if I'm going to see Maki Ito again. So you are misconstruing my words there. I do understand that they may come back at some point. But just because I wanted the other guys to win doesn't mean exactly that I thought the show was terrible. So that's my response to all that. I think this transcription was, I'm not going to say 100% falsified, but it was definitely skewed to make me look bad. I do not agree with it. I want to come in here and say my piece. You can have whatever opinions you want about me. That is fine. But I want to come here and say my piece about it. I am not transphobic. I do not hate any of these women. I am a proud supporter of Joshi wrestling and all elite wrestling. And if you still hate me after that, I don't know what else to tell you. Also, go subscribe to the Tyler-kun YouTube channel, where we have a lot more hot takes and, videos to be ratioed.